So, Naima, are you there? Naima, she is basically
Yes, sir.
MTech student of mine. Okay. So Naima is one of the participant of this FDP, and also she is doing her MTech from our institute only. So am I audible, Lalwani sir? Are you there? Sir, you are not audible. Maybe you have not muted yourself, unmuted yourself. Um, so Lalwani sir, are you there? Actually, you are not audible at all. Sir is there in the meeting by one different name basically. Okay, now Mahendra Lalwani sir has joined.
Yes, sir.
He's there. Yes, yes. Am I audible, sir?
Exactly, sir. No problem.
Okay, okay, all right. So I think we should start the proceeding. So, okay, I formally welcome Dr. Mahendra Lalwani sir, who is Associate Professor at Rajasthan Technical University, Kota. So he will be delivering on one of the relevant title on renewable energy systems. Basically, he is presenting on fundamentals of economics involved in the constructing of power systems. Although his presentation is mainly concentrating on the power systems, since I would like to tell to Mahendra Lalwani sir that we are having the participants from the electrical as well as some mechanical, some electronics, and some people from this control engineering are also there in the meeting. So participants are these kind of things. So before I request to start to Lalwani sir, I request to Naima, who is one of my MTech student here at Engineering College Bikaner only. So Naima, I would like to request to you to please introduce Lalwani sir. Naima, please.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. So this is Naima, MTech student at Bikaner College, and I'm here to introduce you Dr. Mahindra Mahindra Lalwani, sir, who's from Rajasthan, Kota, Rajasthan, and is Lalwani sir is currently working as an associate professor in Department of Electrical Engineering at Rajasthan Technical University currently. He has received his B Electronics and Power Engineering degree from Nagpur University, Maharashtra in 2001. He received his M.Tech Power System and PhD degrees from Malviya National Institute of Technology, Jaipur, Rajasthan. He has more than 20 years experience in teaching and research. He has published more than 50 research papers in various national and international journals. He has authored 3 books in different areas of electrical engineering. He has supervised more than 10 PhD scholars and research scholars. He is a life member of many professional bodies like ISTE, IETE, SESI, etc. His research interest includes renewable energy systems and power quality events. Now I request Dr. Lalwani sir to please present his lecture on fundamentals of economics involved in reconstruction of power system. Dr. Lalwani sir, am I audible?
Yes, madam, audible, madam.
Sir,
Sir,
please.
start करूँ presentation?
Yes, thank you.
Sir,
सर एक
please,
बार
may
आपका
you
stop कर
start?
Thank you,
दीजिए,
Naima.
आपका
Thank you
stop कर
very much.
दीजिए.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
So, okay, all right. Thank you, Naima, for the introductory remarks to Lalwani sir. So, Lalwani sir, we definitely will have good output from your side. So, I hope the research scholars or the faculty members who are there in the meeting, they will definitely benefit from your presentation. So, welcome once again, sir, and please present yourself. Lalwani sir, please.
सर आपका stop कर दीजिए एक बार.
Yes, sure.
नाइमा आपको दिख रही है PPT मेरी?
Yes, sir.
Now, can you visible my PPT are visible?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay. My dear colleagues and
Yes, sir, you are
friends.
clearly, your screen is visible and you are audible at all.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now we will start. Uh, हैं अलग अलग ब्रांचेस के मैकेनिकल, इलेक्ट्रिकल एंड अदर. तो प्रॉब्लम जो स्टार्टिंग की जो सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है, मैं आपको बिल्कुल नटशेल में बताऊंगा, उसके बाद अपन स्टार्ट करेंगे इसको. सबसे इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जैसे ही आई, तब उस समय क्या हुआ, व्हाट हैपेंड कि देशों का या कंट्रीज का जो मेन जो एम था बस टू प्रोवाइड इलेक्ट्रिसिटी टू एवरीबॉडी, दैट्स ऑल. दे आर नॉट कंसीडरिंग कि इस नुकसान, व्हाट द लॉस वी आर गेटिंग, व्हाट आर द अदर फैक्टर्स एक्सेट्रा, बस जस्ट प्रोवाइड. लेटर ऑन एज द इलेक्ट्रिसिटी गेटर ओल्डर, उसके बाद चीजें बदली. उसके बाद हम लोग अब हमारा उद्देश्य ये है कि to get maximum benefit from the customer, to provide maximum benefit to the customer, we take the maximum benefit by the industry etc. तो ये है पूरा जो अपना, उसको कैसे अपने इकोनॉमिक फंडामेंटल्स क्या रहे, कैसे रहे, उसके बारे में स्टडी करेंगे आज, ताकि आने, क्योंकि अब तो इंटीग्रेशन चल रहा है, बिकॉज नाउ वी आर वर्किंग ऑन द इंटीग्रेशन ऑफ द रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी सोर्सेज. तो दिस इज अगेन मोर यूजफुल टू स्टडी दिस. So the fundamental of economics involved the restructuring of the power system. The power industry across the globe is experiencing a radical change in its business as well as in an operational model where the vertically integrated utilities are being unbundled and opened up for the competition with the private players. This and to the era of the monopoly. The question is, what is the bundled and unbundled here? Bundle means a packet. You will see later figure. Okay, this is the bundle. Means generation, transmission, and distribution is provided by a single utility. There is no more person, no more industries involved. That is the bundle. Now, what we do to unbundle this system. We give the some company, industry, or to generation, you generate it, someone to transmit it, and someone to distribute it, so that we can get maximum benefit to the our consumer. That is the bundle and unbundled things. Right from its inception, running the power system was supposed to be a task of eccentric quality. The electric power was then looked upon as a service. Control consisting of planning and operational tasks were administered by a single entity or utility. The vertical integration of all tasks gave rise to the term vertically integrated utility. The arrangement of the earlier setup of the power sector was characterized by operation of a single utility generating, transmitting, and distributing electrical energy in this area of operation. Thus, these utilities enjoyed monopoly. As I will talk earlier, nothing the company or the someone is providing, they are enjoying monopoly. So, in the area of the operation, they were often termed as the monopoly utilities. Now the question arises, why were earlier utilities the monopolies? The reason for the monopoly can be traced right back to the early days when electricity was comparatively a new technology. Anybody is getting? Hello, Naima?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, am I audible?
Yeah, sir. Lalwani sir want to say something?
हाँ सर आ रही आवाज आ रही है मैंने लाइट चली गई इसलिए मैंने बोला थोड़ा सा
No, no, Ari, sir. It's
ठीक
fine.
है हाँ मैंने
You're audible and
ऑन कर
visible
दिया
also. Your screen is also
ओके
visible.
थैंक
Thank you, sir.
यू एक्चुअली मैंने दोबारा मोबाइल से हॉटस्पॉट ऑन किया लाइट ही चली गई चलिए कोई बात नहीं So, the government towards electricity led to investment by the private players into the power sector, who in turn demanded for the monopoly in their area of the operation. This created a win-win situation for the both government and the electrical technology promoters. So the private players enjoy monopoly and exploit the end consumer. Definitely they will get the more profit by the our end consumer and hence introduces the regulation based. To see this situation, we started the regulation so that we can get the maximum benefit. Thus the power industries of the initial era become regulated monopoly utilities. The structure of a conventional vertically integrated utility, this is a structure. As evident from the figure, there was only a single utility with whom the customer dealt with. Thus, the only two entities existed in the power business: a monopolist utility and the customer. Now, what does the regulation mean here? The regulation are generally imposed by the government or the government authority. These essentially represent a set of rules or framework that the government has imposed so as to run the system smoothly and with discipline without undue advantage to any particular entity at the cost of end customer. All practical power system of earlier days used to be regulated by the government. This was obviously so. The old era power industries were vertically integrated utility and enjoy monopoly in their area of operation. Whenever a monopoly is sensed in any sector, it is natural for the government to set up framework of the way of doing business in order to protect the end consumer interest. So now this is the some of the characteristics of the monopoly utilities are single utility in one area of operation enjoying monopoly. The other one is regulated framework. The utility should work under the business framework set up by the government. Next is utility supply obligation. Utility should provide power to all those customers who demand for it. Now, the regulated costs, the return on the utility investment is regulated by the government. Now, why the reason of restructuring is deregulation of the power industries. Deregulation is about removing control over the prices with introduction of market players in the sector. Deregulation does not mean that the rules won't exist. The rules will still be there. However, a new framework would be created to operate the power industry. That is why the word deregulation. Here, however, this is not correct in a strict sense. An overnight change in the power business framework with provision of entry to competing supplier and subjecting prices to market interaction would not work successfully. There are certain conditions that create a conducive environment for the competition to work. These conditions need to be satisfied while deregulation or restructuring a system. Sometimes the word deregulation may sound a misnomer. Now, there are many reasons that fulfill the concept of the deregulation of the power industry. One major thought that prevailed during the early 90s raised question about the performance of monopoly utilities. The economics started promoting introduction of competitive market for electrical energy as a means of benefit for the overall. This argument was supported by the successful reform experiences of other sectors such as airline, gas, telephone, etc. Another impetus, the deregulation of the power industries, was provided by the change in the power generation technology. In the earlier days, cost-effective power generation was possible only with the help of thermal plants. However, during the mid-80s, the gas turbines started generating cost-effective power with smaller plant size. It was then possible to build the power plants near the load centers, and also an opportunity was created for the private players to generate power and sell the same to the existing utility. This technology change supposed to have provided acceleration to the concept of the independent power producer, supported the concept of deregulation further. This technology change is supposed to have provide acceleration to the concept of independent power producer. This further supported concept of the deregulation. This was specifically true where the financial losses were apparently high, which was prevalent in some of the developing countries. These are the indicative or major reasons for introducing the concept of deregulation in the power industries. There are many other reasons as well as one of the important reasons in the condition under which power systems were deregulated did not exist anymore. There was no wind of skepticism about the electrical technology, and all the initial investment in the infrastructure were already paid back. So the competitive environment offers a good range of benefits for the customer as well as the private entities. It is claimed that some of the significant benefit of the power industry deregulated would include electricity price will go down. It is a common understanding that the competitive prices are lesser than the monopolist prices. The producer will try to sell the power at its marginal cost in a perfectly competitive environment. Choice for customers. The customer will have choice for its retailers. The retailers will compete not only on the prices offered but also on the other facility provided to the customer. These could include better plans, better reliability, better quality, etc. Now, for the customer-centric services, the retailers would provide better services than what the monopolist would do. Now, next is the innovation. The regulatory process and the lack of competition gave electric utilities no incentives to improve or to take risks on new ideas that might increase the customer value. Under deregulated environment, the electric utilities will always try to innovate something for the betterment of service, and in turn save the cost and maximize the profit. Now, the understanding the restructuring process, how the process involved. The process of deregulation has taken different format in different part of the world. Also, the reason for the power sector to adapt the reforms vary from country to country. From the developed countries, introduction of the competition to achieve social welfare was probably the most important reason. On the other hand, the developing countries mainly banked on the capacity addition through entry of private players. It is observed that neither there is lone reason for driving deregulation of power industries, nor is there a single objective of the same. The restructuring process starts with the unbundling of the originally vertical integrated unit utility. This essentially leads to separate the activities involved in an integrated power system, leading to creation of fundamental partition amongst them. For example, the bundling of the power industry involves separation transmission activity from the generation activity. Further, distribution can be separated from the transmission. Thus, these three mutually exclusive functions are created and there are separate entities or companies that control these functions. Then the competition can be introduced in the generation activity by allowing other private participants in this segment. In contrast to the vertically integrated case, where all the generation is owned by the same utility, there is a scope of the private players to sell their generation and at the competitive prices. The generators owned by the earlier vertical integrated utility will then help with these private generators. The transmission sector, being a natural monopoly, is the most unlikely to have competing players in the sector. This is because the natural monopolies like transmission companies, the business become profitable only when the output is large enough. Now this is a circuitry how we distributed the system. This figure shows the representative structure of the deregulated power system. In contrast to vertically integrated utility structure, it can be seen that there are many alternative paths along with the money flows. It is evident that there are many more other entities present apart from the vertically integrated utility and the customer. This is a dashed arrow show the money flow, and the dotted is showing the information flow, and the power flow is the by the straight arrows. So we will see as the monopoly system. We seen the monopoly system or generation, first generation, then directly to a transmission, then customer. The things is happen here. Exactly the things is happen here. But there is information flow is much needed. The information we will take from the customer, the information we will take from the retailers, taking the information from the buyer, big buyers, or yeah, stock market, we can say transmission, distribution, we are getting the information. So like that, the main role we can say in this system is the system operator. System operator is the, we can say the person, or we can say the industry, or we can say the computer, etc., whatever. It provides the information ki what the customer need now and what the customer is need, not the some after hour or 2 hours or in the Diwali year, etc. So this is the information on the basis of the information we can work here, and we can take the money, chart money, etc. Now the various entities involved in the deregulation. The introduction of the deregulation has introduced several new entities in the electricity market place and has simultaneously redefined the scope of the activities. of many of the existing players. Variation exists across market structures over how each entity is particularly defined and over what role is played to the system. However, a broad level, we see the following entities is there. We see the first is generation companies. We will say here the Genco. Genco means generating company. Genco is owner operated of one or more generator that runs them and bids the power into the competitive marketplace. Genco sells energy at its site in the same manner that a coal mining company might sell coal in bulk at its mine. Now the next is entity is the Transco, means transmission company. Will say the name is here the Transco. First four letters of the trans and then the company for co. Transco moves power in bulk quantity from where it is produced to where it is consumed. The Transco owns and maintains the transmission facilities and may perform many of the management and engineering functions required to ensure the smooth running of the system. In some deregulated industries, the Transco owns and maintains the transmission lines under the monopoly, but does not operate them. That is done by the independent system operator, ISO. The Transco is paid for the use of these lines. Now, next entity is the DISCOM, means distribution companies. It is owner operated of the local power delivery system, which delivers power to individual business and home owners. In some places, the local distribution function is combined with retail function. That is, means to buy wholesale electricity either through the spot market or through the direct contract with the Genco and supply electricity to the end use customers. In many other cases, however, the DISCOM does not sell the power. Next entity is the RESCO, means Retail Energy Service Company. It is the retailer of the electric power. Many of these will be retail department of former vertically integrated utilities. A RESCO buys power from the Genco and sells it directly to the customers. RESCO does not own any electric network physical assets. Means we can say RESCO has no physical assets, still it provides electricity to the consumers. Now the market operators provide a platform for the buyers and sellers to sell and buy the electricity. It runs a computer program that matches bids and offer of sellers and the buyers. The market settlement process is the responsibility of the market operator. The market operator typically runs a day ahead market. The near real-time market, if any, is administered by the system operator. System operator means the SO is an entity entrusted with the responsibility of ensuring the reliability and security to the entire system. It is independent authority and does not participate in the electricity market trades. It usually does not own generating resources, except for some reserve capacity in certain cases. In order to maintain the system security and reliability, the SO pursues various services such as supply of emergency reserves or reactive power from other entities in the system. Now the customer, we are the customers, and customer, big industry is also customer, so all are the customers. A customer is the entity consuming electricity. Since this line says those who are consuming electricity, we are the consumer for the above whole system which we study till. In a completely deregulated market where retail sector is also open for competition, the end user has several options for buying electricity. It may choose to buy electricity from the spot market by bidding. for purchase or may buy directly from the Genco or even from the local retailing service companies. On the other hand, in the market where competition exists only at the wholesale level, only the large customer have privileges of choosing the supplier. Now the understanding the restructuring process. Electricity as a commodity cannot be compared with any other commodity trade in the market. This is because it has some distinguished characteristics of its own, which demand satisfaction of technical constraint before accomplishing the commercial trades. Two important features of electricity as a commodity are need for real-time balance and inability to wheel the commodity through the desired path. Hence, a set of principles laid down by the standard microeconomic theory cannot be mapped directly to the electricity commodity markets. Tackling network congestion. Now, the another question is network congestion is another problem. Is one of the challenging issue of the deregulated era. Transmission network provide the path through which transactions are made in a power market, but each transmission network has its own physical and operating limits, like line flow limits, bus voltage magnitude limits, and many more. The power injection and withdrawal configuration should be such that no limits get violated. If the network is operated beyond this limit, it may even result in the entire system blackout. If we are just unnecessarily we are providing some more voltages, some more power to the line, it will create a problem and will black out. Therefore, any arbitrary set of transactions can't be organized on the power network. This has given rise to new problems under the restructured power system environment. Refer to this is called the congestion management. There are many ways in which the congestion is formally defined, but to explain in simple words, we can say when some component in power network appear to be overloaded due to trading arrangement, that particular arrangement is said to be create congestion of the network. As we studied here, to get the maximum benefited, what the companies do, they will provide more power to the same transmission line. Then there is a congestion. Congestion means there is again a blackout. This is a problem. The purpose of the congestion management is to make necessary correction in order to relieve congestion. It can be easily appreciated that under the vertical integrated structure, network congestion in fact is not a challenging task. This is because all the resources in the system are under direct control of the monopolist. If the monopoly is there is no congestion management because one person is the player, it will manage all the things. But if the things are changed, the system is deregulated, means number of players working, if the number of players is working, then the problem arises. Thus, this is the sole responsibility of the monopolist to maintain the transmission network. Now, the provision of the ancillary services is another tough task carried out by the system operator under the deregulated framework. Ancillary services are defined as all those activities on the interconnected grid that are necessary to support the transmission of the power while maintaining reliable operation and ensuring the required degree of quality and safety. Under the deregulated power system environment, the system operator acquires a center coordination role and carries out the important responsibility of providing for the system reliability and the security. This is again a thing, we have provide the reliability and security. It manages system operation like scheduling and operating the transmission related services. The SO means system operator. The system operator also has to ensure a required degree of quality and safety and provide corrective measure under contingent conditions. In this aspect, certain services such as schedule and dispatch, frequency regulation, voltage control, these are some measures we have to consider for it all the time. are required by the power system apart from the basic energy and basic power delivery services. Such services are commonly referred to as the ancillary services. In deregulated power system, transmission networks are available for third-party access to allow power wheeling in such an environment. The ancillary services are no longer treated as an integral part of the electric supply. They are unbundled and priced separately, and operators may have to purchase ancillary service from the ancillary service provider. We can say the unbundled service have to purchase is from the ancillary services providers. Now, then there are certain issues like market design, market power, which need regulatory interventions. Issues pertaining to market design revolve around choice made in the selection of dispatch philosophies, choice of various pricing schemes, choice between the number of market with multiple gates, closures, etc. From various alternatives, the market architectures which map various market on timeline is also an important subtopic of the market design process. The existing of the market power shows the sign of deviation from the perfect competition. In general, the market power is referred to as the ability of market participant to profitably maintain the market price above or below the competitive level for a significant period of time. To tackle this situation, an indirect regulatory intervention in the form of market design rules is needed. Thus, as mentioned earlier, deregulation does not mean ceasing to have rules. It is the restructuring of the power business framework. Now, the reason for and objective of deregulation of various power systems across the world. Restructuring or deregulation is a broad term and can have different meanings in different countries. This is because the changes essential for betterment of power sector depend on the prevailing condition in the power sector of respective countries. Further, the word betterments can be looked upon subjectively. For example, well-developed industrialized countries can expect price to go down, and these countries can treat the change in the prices as betterment. On the other hand, the developing countries need to make radical changes in the policy and regulation such that barrier to entry for private players is removed. The effective betterment can be looked upon from the perspective for the developing countries. We'll take first example of the US, what US does for the deregulation, what they want. The US electric utilities from very beginning were privately owned and worked in a vertically integration fashion. The developed countries like US had well-functioning and efficient electric system. However, some system, so long as consumers were concerned, they were not satisfied with the rising cost of electricity. For some other system, utility management found that running the system was not viable due to low tariff. In some system, pressure from smaller players to open up the business for the competition played a major role. By the large, deregulation took place in developed countries by pressure to reduce cost while simultaneously increasing competitive in the market. Existence of market power shows the sign of deviation from the perfect competition. In general, market power is referred to as ability of market participant to profitable maintain the market price above the below and competitive level for a significant period of time. To tackle the situation, an indirect regulatory intervention in the form of market design is needed. Again, the next is the UK. What will do UK? The transformation of the British power sector proceeded along three paths in 1990. First, the traditional industries was bundled both vertically and horizontal. High voltage transmission assets were transferred to a new national grid company, and the coal and oil fired units were divided among two companies, National Power and Power Generation. Nuclear Electric retained control of all nuclear units. All the outset, National Power has 52% of the total generating companies. Approximately 30% of the share in national power and power generation were sold to the public, an equal amount of foreign and the institutional investors. The remaining 40% was held by the government. The third set of changes sought to open the, so this is the things in the UK. Now the Nordic pool, the reforms in the Nordic countries were inspired by the electricity market reforms in England and Wales in 1989, as well as by the widely held belief that increased competition would raise power industry efficiency to the benefit of consumers. Norway was first amongst the Nordic countries to liberalize its electricity market in 1992. But without privatization, the Norwegian electricity sector remains almost entirely in public hands. Rather than the implement national forms, the other Nordic countries closed the reforms by merging with the existing Norwegian market. The developing countries, we talk about now here the developing countries. The case of developing countries is different from that of other countries. In these countries, the electricity supply is treated as a social service rather than a market commodity. Presently, for 5 to 10 years, we are thinking this is a social services. The ownership of the power sector in these countries is directly under the government of respective countries. These state-owned controlled systems have led to the promotion of inefficient practices over a period. The power sector of these countries are marked by supply shortage. There has been an inability to add the generating capacity. The subsidies and the high transmission and distribution losses are the major concern before these systems. Another consequence of state control over electric utilities was the high level of overstaffing. So this is the deregulation we studied here, how we perform these things. Now the fundamental of economics involved. The commodity market is started with the barter system and eventually developed to the era of electronic trading system. In simple words, a market is defined as a meeting place for the buyers and sellers to strike a deal. The technological advance has progressed to such an extent that nowadays deal for a commodity can be struck with the click of a mouse. This is concept of the virtual marketplace that has potential of the eliminating a physical marketplace. Microeconomics is a branch of economics that deal with the how household or firms make decisions and how they react in the market. The restructured power system treat electric energy as a commodity rather than a service as in vertically integrated system. As in the case of any other commodity, the behavior of the consumer and the supplier in electricity market are analyzed using the concept of microeconomics. Now the consumer behavior will some entities involved in the consumer behavior. Total utility and marginal utility. It is a common practice to explain concept of the microeconomics using common consumer goods as an example. However, we'll explain it by considering by number of units of electric energy as a commodity. This would help the reader to relate things later on while studying concept associated with the electric power market. Next is total utility and marginal utility. We begin with the notion that the consumer achieves some satisfaction from the consuming a product. Electric energy, in this case, if this satisfaction is absent, the consumer would not demand it at all. This term is called the total utility. Similarly, margin utility is the utility obtained from the last unit consumed by the consumer. Let us explain these in terms of with an example. Now, this is let there will be a square shaped room as shown in figure. We'll take a square shaped room and let's suppose we are studying, we are in the square shaped room. The small circle in the figure represent the lamps located in same height from the ground as a source of light for the whole room. Suppose there are inner 9 lamps in all fitted in the room as the plan shown in the figure. Let us assume that all lamps are same rating and illumination. When all the lamps are off, there is complete darkness in the room. Let us assume that there is an interlock arrangement in the switchgear such that for putting lamps on at L level, the lamp at M level should be on. Similarly, for putting lamp at M level on, the center lamp C should be on. Now suppose a person enters a room and puts lamp C on. Since the lamp is at the center, it spreads even light all across the room. This light is good enough for a person to move to each and every corner of the room. Let us assume that the satisfaction of this person gets by putting lamp on is only 10 units. Let's suppose he, and the lamp C is on, its satisfaction is 10. We will see this by this table, but this is later. Now suppose the person switches the lamp M1 on, this bulb still adds to the brightness of the room, but the satisfaction that need add in the person in the room may get a satisfaction of 10. Unit. But it will definitely be lesser than the 10 units as the room is already lit from the state of total darkness by the lamp C. Let us say the person we will see by this table the result of the, when the lamp C is on, the margin utility is 10 and the total utility is 10. Now next, the M1 is on, then marginal utility means our satisfaction we need less than this one, and the total utility is add them the 19. In that way, our satisfaction level is directly decreases by continuity as we are increasing the lamp. So our total utility is increasing continuously by using by these 9 lamps and the C1, M1, like that. Now the law of diminishing marginal utility. The above pattern of the marginal utility provided by sequence of putting bulbs on is called the law of diminishing marginal utility. It states that after consuming a certain amount of a good or service, the marginal utility from it diminishes as more and more is consumed. This law is quite natural and should hold for the most of produced product one consumes. Now the consumer surplus. The person entering the room in the previous example would have been indifferent to the number of lamps to be put on had electricity been for free. Then the person would not have bothered about the marginal utility and the total utility. But as soon as the person is made to pay for the uses of electric energy, as we study in the before, person have to be care to get the benefited by the system. he would start thinking, would rather make a judicious choice about how many lamps to put on. The person then would have calculated how much utility he could have obtained if he had spent same amount of energy on other uses. For example, air conditioner, in other words, how many lamps the person would have put on depends not only on the marginal and the total utility but also on the price of electricity. Let the price of electricity be 4 rupees for each lamp equivalent rating. We now define marginal utility of 1 rupees as the extra utility when additional 1 rupees is spent on other available uses in general. For the sake of simplicity, let it be 1 unit. In other words, after spending 1 rupees, the marginal utility associated with it 1 unit. Having the information on price and marginal utility of rupees, the person can determine how many lamps to be put on. The person have to be think how many we have to on about how many off. Consider only one lamp is on, the person obtain marginal utility of 10. Since marginal utility of 1 rupee is equal to 1 unit of utility, the utility obtained in the case would be 10 divided by 1 means 10 rupees. On the expenditure side, the person spends 4 rupees to get the lamp on. Then the person will go ahead and put the lamps on. As a matter of fact, he is left with no choice in the case. When the person puts the second lamp on, M1 obtains a marginal utility of 9 units, which is equivalent to 9 by 1, means 9 rupees, 9 Indian national rupees. Since the marginal utility that the person would obtain is greater than the price he pays, he would go ahead to put the second lamp on. Now, the person keeps on making such comparison before putting the next lamp. Some person have to compare should I on or not, because as we using we have to pay more. That's the thing. What happens when he puts on the lamp L2, the seventh lamp? We see in the table last. It renders utility equal to 4 rupees, which is equal to price per unit of electricity. The answer is that the person will be indifferent. However, one thing is for sure, the person will not put on lamps after seventh lamp as the price he has to pay more than the what he occurs. This decision-making process can be easily understood with the help of figure 2. The horizontal line at the 4 rupees depicts the price of electricity before the lamp number 7 is lit. The marginal utility is more than the price of electricity. At the 7th lamp, it becomes equal, while for 8th lamp and 9th lamp and 10th lamp, the marginal utility is lesser than the price. Means the table summarizes results at each stage. It provides detail about total utility and total expenditure at each stage. Last column of table depicts nothing but the person's surplus in terms of money. In other words, it is the difference between what he gains and expenditure toward the same. The shaded area in the next figure will be called as the net consumer surplus. The net consumer surplus represents the extra value that the person in the room is able to get from the being able to buy all the electric energy at 4 rupees. Even though the value he attached to electric energy is higher than the price of electricity. So this is the decision making based on the margin utility and the net surplus, consumer surplus. So we see after the fourth, we have to pay the price of electricity and the unit converted to Indian rupees, and there is number of lamps. When we are using more and more lamps, we have to pay more. This is the details of the total expenditure and the total utility at the each stages. as we are continuously increasing the lightening the length, number of length, the total utility will be in the Indian national rupees will be increases, and the total expenditure will be increases. So surplus will be increases. So after 6 or 7 will be it will. There is no use to get more and to light the more and more length. You will see from the 6 and 7. It will be then net surpluses. This is now the consumer equilibrium. The word equilibrium used in the generic terms means the position of the balance. In the above example, the person in the room will stop or rest to attain equilibrium after lighting 6th or 7th lamp on. Last column of the table reveals the fact that the person's surplus is maximized as 6th and 7th lamp. In other words, we can say the shaded area in figure representing net consumer surplus is maximized at equilibrium. In general, we can then say that consumer equilibrium with respect to purchase of one good is attained when the difference between the total utility in terms of money and the total expenditure on it is maximized. Now, this is a demand function curve. We are studying a market demand curve where the relation shown in the figure is termed as the individual demand curve. It is easy to infer that the peculiar nature of this curve is due to law of diminishing marginal utility. Thus, the demand curve can be termed as a marginal utility curve if instead of the discrete demand curve as shown in the figure, a continuous function is established. The nature of the curve will be the one with negative slope or downward sloping. We can see this is not downward sloping here. It is unlikely that all the person entering under dark room will feel the same marginal utility with each of the lamp. If we aggregate the individual demand curve of the sufficient large number of consumers, the discontinuity of the figure will smoothen and will give a market demand curve or demand function. This is shown in the figure. Now the demand elasticity, the downward sloping demand curve can be seen from the different perspective. It emphasizes that a small increase in the prices of the commodity will increase its demand. The rate of change of demand curve with respect to the price would surely quantify the change. However, to make the changes comparable, the percentage changes rather than absolute change are computed. Thus, the price elasticity of demand becomes the ratio of relative change in demand to the relative change in the price. So this given by this equation. We will use this equation in the further. By seeing the table, the various cases for demand elasticity, we can see that if the alpha is equal to epsilon is equal to 0 means that the system is perfectly inelastic. If it is a value of the -1 to 0, less than 0, that is elastic. And if it is equal to -1, that is called the elastic, and elastic, and then the perfect elasticity when the epsilon value is the minus of infinity. The price elasticity of demand can be defined as a measure of how much the quantity demanded of a good respond to change in the price of that good, computed as the percentage change in the quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in the price. Downward sloping demand function figure and equation together depicts that the price elasticity of demand will be negative number. Many a times elasticity is presented as an absolute value by dropping a minus sign. Measuring demand responsive then become a simple task if the elasticity number is higher. Higher is the demand responsive. We follow the convention with the negative sign intact. Various cases of the price elasticity of demand are established in this table. Figure shows demand elasticity of the various cases. In case of unit elasticity, the demand curve takes a shape of a rectangular hyperbola. When the demand is perfectly inelastic, the demand curve takes the form of a vertical line parallel to the y-axis. It means demand is not responsive to changes in the prices. Now we studying here supply behavior. So first we have to study for supply behavior. We have to study the law of diminishing marginal product. The diminishing marginal product for supplier laws establish the input-output relation for the product. In short, this law is depicted in this figure. Various cases, this is the demand elasticity. First is perfectly elastic. There is no changes. Then the second is the elastic. Then third is the unit elastic. This is the simple elastic curve we have to study here. Now supply function. Suppose the total commodity output is called as Y. Let us assume that there is only one factor of production is X. Thus the production function is given by Y is equal to Fx. For almost all goods and technologies, the production Y increases with X at the beginning. But as cheaper as resources start depleting, costlier resources are employed for the production, and for the same quantity of the production, the cost start increasing. In other words, we can say the rate of increase of Y decreases as X gets larger. The inverse of the production function will be, this is the X equal to Gy. This function indicates how much of the variable production factor is required to produce a specified amount of commodity. If unit cost of factor of production X is W, then the cost function is given by cost of Y equal to W of Gy. So this is the figure for the cost function and the marginal cost function. First is the cost function, second is the marginal cost function. Figure shows the cost function and the marginal cost function, which is the derivative of the cost function. Now the supply function. Suppose there are many suppliers and they make use of different technology and fuel to produce electric energy. Thereby, these producers will have different marginal cost and will have different power producing quantities at different price levels. If the amount supplied by a large number of producers is aggregated, a smooth and upward sloping curve is obtained by the figure. This is known as the supply curve, and this is a supplier surplus. Supplier surplus can be explained on the similar lines to the consumer surplus. The entire supply of commodity is traded at the market price. The supply revenue is the product of trade quantity Q and the market price. Let us consider in the figure. This is a figure 8. The horizontal line depicts the market price. The shaded portion shows producer net surplus. This arises from the concept of all goods being traded at a price higher than their opportunity cost. Eventually, net surplus is the area between the supply curve and the horizontal line depicting market price. This is the supply net surplus. The horizontal line, this is the net surplus. The supplier whose opportunity cost is equal to the market price is called the marginal producer. This is a line shows the marginal producer. The marginal producer neither accrues any profit nor loss. The infra-marginal producers accrue profit while the extra-marginal producer would find it worthwhile to sell the commodity only in the its market price increases. Now the supply equilibrium, how the supply equilibrium will take place. As we see in the last section, there is a net surplus, there is no profit to the supplier. So supplier equilibrium. If supplier's marginal cost is shown in figure, at what level should the supplier stop producing that commodity? To answer this question, let us explain what is meant by opportunity cost. The supplier has a threshold price in mind below which it will not sell its commodity. There are two reasons for deciding these threshold prices. First, of course, is that the total revenue will be less than the total cost of producing that commodity. Second, and the important reason could be the supplier could make use of some same resource required to produce the commodity under consideration to produce some other commodity that would fetch more money. In that case, the revenue from the sale of commodity under consideration will be less than the opportunity cost associated with the production of the same. In other words, we can say the supplier will sell the commodity at a price at which the opportunity cost of the production is equal or lesser. Now the supply elasticity. An increase in the price of commodity encourages supplier to make large quantity on the commodity available. The price elasticity of supply quantity, this relation, the supply elasticity can define in a similar fashion to the demand elasticity. Only difference is to replace supply curve by demand curve. It is worthwhile to note that due to upward sloping nature of supply curve, the price elasticity of supply will be positive number. Various cases of the price elasticity of supply is shown in the table. This is the various cases of supply elasticity. When epsilon, the elasticity range is the 0, that is the perfectly inelastic. If supply range is between the -1 to j, that is called elastics. If it equal to 1, that is called the unit elastics. Infinity to -1, that is called elastic. And now last is the, if it is infinity, that is called the perfectly elastic. This is the plot of the supply elasticity for the various cases. We see in the last section also. There is just it is an image. We can see the image of this figure, mirror image of this figure. Now the supply, we studied the supply equilibrium. Now the market equilibrium we have to study here. We have seen from the consumer and supplier would behave individually. Let us now consider how the consumers and supplier would interact with each other at the marketplace. We take case of the perfectly competitive market. Although the electricity market is seldom a perfectly competitive market, a perfectly competitive market has many attributes. The most important being that a single player is not able to change the market price. Similarly, under perfect competition case, all market buyers buy at the same market clearing prices. The market equilibrium is achieved at the price is called market clearing price, such that the quantity that the suppliers are willing to sell is equal to quantity that the consumer wish to obtain. In other words, market equilibrium is a state of zero excess demand and the zero excess supply. This is a curve show the market equilibrium curve. Figure for more expression, it depicts supply and demand curve for a particular product denoted by S and D register. Hello? हाँ सर बताएं हाँ सर बताएं सर हुकुम हाँ सर, मैं 1 घंटे में मैं लेक्चर ले रहा था, मैं लेक्चर में हूँ, मैं आपसे बात में लेक्चर में हूँ सर, बात मत करो इफ यू डोंट माइंड सर। सर मैं लेक्चर में हूँ सर, मैं अभी लेक्चर में सर 1 घंटे फ्री हो जाऊंगा सर। हाँ जी। सर मैं करता हूँ, ठीक है, थैंक यू सर। हाँ जी। नाउ द दिस इज
Yes, you are audible, sir. Audible.
what should be the market. Supply as well. Obviously, there is a mismatch. Consumers want more what the producers are doing. Supply. The excess demand will create competition among the buyers and push the price up. It will increase same also. There is at which there is no excess demand considering the quantity is huge. Just the opposite happens if the initial price is pi 3. The quantity demanded D3 is less than the quantity supplied S3. There is mismatch in the form of excess supply. The prices will keep falling as long as there is excess supply. There will be price finally settle. The answer is again pi star at which there is no excess supply. The pi star and q star mark the price and quantity at equilibrium, respectively. The equilibrium situation in a competitive market is said to be Pareto efficient. An economic situation is Pareto efficient if the benefit derived by any of the parties can be increased, only be decreasing benefit enjoyed by one of the other parties. Suppose the quantities change in S1 instead of Q star. At the quantity, there is someone willing to sell extra unit of the good considered at price I1, which is less than price pi 4 that someone else is willing to pay for that extra unit. If trade can be arranged between these two parties at any price between the pi 1 and pi 4, both parties will be better off and as per definition. This is not the Pareto efficient situation. Thus, if total amount trade is less than the equilibrium Q star, the situation is not Pareto efficient. Similarly, an amount is excess of equilibrium value is not Pareto efficient because the price that someone would be willing to pay for an extra unit is lower than the price that it would take to get it supplied. It is not difficult to conclude that the Pareto efficiency is achieved only when the goods are allocated on the basis of single marginal rate of substitution as happens in the competitive market. Now, the global welfare is also there. Global welfare. When global welfare is the sum of the net consumer surplus and the net producer surplus. It is the quantification of the overall benefit that arises from trading. Global welfare is maximized when market is settled at the intersection of supply and demand curves. The global welfare is also termed as the global welfare and social surplus. Global welfare is explained sum of areas DS1, DS2, DW2 represent the consumer surplus, while the sum of areas SS1, 1, 2, DW1 represent the producer surplus. The total area consisting of areas DS1, DS2, SS1, DS2 and DW1, DW2 represent the global welfare. It is clear from the figure that if the prices is set to any infra-marginal value rather than the equilibrium price, there is reduction in the global welfare. Now the dead weight loss. What happened when the price is forcefully set to some value other than the equilibrium prices? It leads to reduction in the global welfare and creation dead weight loss. Suppose the prices is set to pi 2 due to some intervention by say the government as shown in the figure. In case the consumer reduces their consumption from Q to Q, Q star to Q, the consumer surplus then becomes equal to area of DS1, while producer surplus is the sum of area DS2, SS1 and SS2. Similarly, if the price is set at pi 1, the suppliers reduces their production to Q from Q star. The net consumer surplus is the sum of areas DS1, DS2, SS2, while producers surplus is area SS1. Thus, these interventions while setting prices have undesirable effect of reducing the global welfare by an amount equal to the sum of areas DW1 and DW2. The amount equivalent to this area is called the dead weight loss. In general, regulated tariff is the major source of dead weight loss. From electric market point of view, the network constraint can be a major source of creation of the dead weight loss. Now the short run and the long run. The short run behavior of the commodity producing the firm and perfectly competitive market can be explained. In this type of market, the only option left to the firm is to maximize profit is by adjusting its output, as it cannot influence the market prices. This can be the posed as by these equation. Now this is the equation for the various cost of productions involved in this sum. Now the relation between the run and the short run average cost. As discussed, there are many factors of production that are fixed in the short run but variable in long run. That is why a firm short run cost curve differs from that of a long run cost curve. For a firm to increase its output in short run requires increase in those factors of production which shows their effect in short run. For example, for a vehicle manufacturer, increasing number of workers is one such solution in order to increase number of vehicles produced in the long run. In case increase its vehicle production by building more number of factories, in short run calculation, the cost of these factories will not figure and are supposed to be fixed, while in long run, they are variable. Three average short-run cost curves for three sizes of vehicle manufacturing factories, small, medium, and large. Figure shows this. The figure also shows the long-run average cost curve. As the firm moves along the long-run cost curve, it adjusts the factory size to the quantity of the production. So this is a long run and short run. We are showing here this is the long small factory AC in the short and small medium factory in the big factory. This is a total long run we are studying here the vehicle manufactured per day. As seen from the figure, long run average cost curve has a much flatter U-shaped curve than the short run average cost curve. All short run curves lies on or above the long run cost curve. The long run cost curve provides a lower envelope for all short average cost curve. This peculiar relation exists because of flexibility associated by obtaining long run cost curve. In short, the firm gets to choose which short run it wishes to employ. As the firm moves from a small size factory to medium size factory, the cost per vehicle start reducing till the center point. As long as the average production cost decreases, the product is set to display economic of sales. So this is the now the perfectly competitive market. How the perfectly competitive market work? What are the parameters? What are the persons involved in this? A perfectly competitive market in brief terms can be explained as a market from in which no consumers or producers can influence the market prices. Perfect competition has a market equilibrium, which is the Pareto coefficient. The defining characteristics of a perfect competitive market can be given as below. First is atomicity. An atomic market is the one in which there are a large number of small producers and consumers. They are so small that individual actions have no significant impact on others. Firms are price takers. Complete information. All consumers and sellers have know the price set by the all firms. Homogeneity. All firms sell an identical product. Free entry. No firm has a barrier for entry into or exit out of the market. Uniform price. Each firm charges the same price in the market. In addition to this, there are obvious behavior consumption such that the consumers try to maximize utility while suppliers try to maximize profit. Market for agriculture products with sufficiently large number of suppliers and consumers can be assumed to be a perfectly competitive market. On the other hand, the electricity market seldom exhibit perfect competition due to less number of prominent players. The firm supply decision under perfect competitions. This is a firm supply. Equation shows in order to maximize the profit, the firm will raise its production up to that level at which the marginal cost is equal to the market price. Let us explain this point graphically with the help of the concept of the marginal revenue. To understand firm's supply decision under perfect competition, figure shows the profit maximization for a firm under the perfect competition. You see here. The marginal cost curve, MC means marginal cost curve, is upward sloping. The AC average cost curve is typically U-shaped, and the marginal cost curve crosses the average cost curve at minimum of average cost. The figure shows a horizontal line at the market price. The price line is horizontal because the firm is price taker. The price of the firm output is the same. Regardless of the quantity that the firm decided to produce, we have mentioned that for a competitive firm, the firm price equals both its average revenue and its marginal revenue. Now the philosophy of the market model. Which market model we prefer? Creating trading arrangement is to exchange a commodity called electric energy, adds complexity to the overall process of the generating, transmitting the same to the end consumer. Definitely, if we are trading the electricity, there is the competition there, market model different will be involved. Deviating from a vertically integrated structure towards unbundled operation requires structural and constitutional changes. This is true for any commodity market that is undergoing for the paradigm change. What are the now the important questions are? What the important questions are? What are the possible ways in which the buyers and the sellers can trade electric energy? Which section of the consumers have a choice of selecting their energy providers? What are the peculiarities involved? What are the role of the involved? So this is a market activity. Market model based on the contractual arrangement. As mentioned earlier, unbundling of the conventional vertical integrated power system creates groups of various commercial and technical activities, such as since one of the major aims to re-regulation is introduction of competition, it is worthwhile to explore every avenue where competition can be introduced. Eventually, competition provides a choice for entities to choose whether another entity or a group of entities to do a profitable transaction in electric parallels. Either the load or an entity representing a group of load get a choice of select its energy provider, or there may exist some mechanism which would cater to the electric energy needs of these loads at a competitive market. The former mechanism essentially require bilateral movement of the entities who wish to get into a power buy and sell contract. In this, the seller and the buyer mutually agreed upon the terms and conditions, including the price and time of delivery. A repetitive bilateral interaction between buyers and sellers may lead to an equilibrium point where everyone is happy. Alternatively, a similar result would be obtained if a common change for commodity is set up, where buyers and sellers, instead of interacting with each other, communicated their expectations to this marketplace. This represents a simultaneous market clearing process and common market price of electrical commodity. So these are the some studying here. Various models, various trading model can propose based on the above discussion. The choice of choosing a model is a policy decision and is dominated by various prevailing conditions. They need to account it for before making structural changes. The four basic models are, these are the four basic models: the monopoly model, single buyer model, wholesale competition model, and the retail competition model. First is monopoly model. In this model, as we studied earlier before 1 hour, in this model, a single entity takes care of all the business such as the generation, transmission, and distribution of electric power to the end users. One of the version of this model is shown in the figure. In this, a single utility integrates the generation, transmission, and distribution of electricity. Usually, in this kind of model, the monopoly lies with the government. It is quite natural that this kind of model should have strict regulation in order to protect end consumers against monopoly. Most of the electric power system followed by this model prior to deregulation. This must be noted. This is a two different version of the monopoly model. Generation, transmission, distribution is directly the one thing and provided to a customer. That is another model of the model. Monopoly model is the generation, transmission is different, distribution is different to the consumer. Now the single buyer model. Here we will see from the directly by the figure. This is a single buyer model. This is the generation, then single buyer is purchases by and then transmit, distribution, and the consumer. This is single buyer model. The single buyer model buys power from the independent power producers. In addition to its own generation, the power purchasing agencies can sell the state distribution or distribution companies in service areas like this one. The merit of this is private participation in power generation, introduction of some competition without expensive setup. There is no extensive setup required, means only work, but the competition is there, but no setup is there. Demerit is long-term contract. Setting up a contract is problematic. No true competition. There is no competition. Prices not decided by the demand-supply interaction. Now the wholesale competition market. The wholesale competition market, independent private players is purchase different, then single buyer is purchase, wholesale buyer the purchase, then discount, then to the consumer. This is called this model is one step closer toward the competition. This is the consumer competition starts here. There is an organized market in which the generators can sell their energy at competitive rate. The market may be organized either by a separate entity or may be run by the system operator itself. There is not much choice to the end user. End user has no choice. The choice is to the single buyer who will which purchase this. This is the model. Then this is a wholesale competition market. We can say the Genco company. Genco provide the wholesale market. The whole market is provided to the wholesale at the market wholesale. Then some electricity purchased by the discom, some big consumer. Then some retailers. Retailers can purchase by the directly to the Gencom. This is a wholesale competitive market. The merit of this, the choice of seller provided for discom and bulk consumers. The buyers and the sellers can make forward contract or buy from the wholesale marketplace. This price is decided by the interaction between the demand and supply, hence indicates true competitive prices. Demerits, the end consumer still does not have a choice. It buys power from the affiliated discom. The rate and consumer are regulated rather than competitive. Discom face competition at the wholesale level, while their returns are regulated. Structural and the institutional changes required at the wholesale company. Now that there is a retail sector will be there. As we seen in our market, if you buy, we are the retailers. In this model, all customers have access to competing generators either directly or through their choice of retailer. We will see this by figure. This is a retail competition model. This is the biggest model here. Generation company generator there, and all the commodity here. What is the commodity? Electricity is the commodity here. The wholesale at the wholesale market price they will purchase by the wholesale market. By the wholesale market, discount company purchases, while some big consumer purchases, some retailers can purchases, and retailer can directly purchase by the Gencom also. Now, the next section is the distribution. Now, it will become in the retail market. By the retail market, consumer can purchase electricity as per demand, as per requirement, as per money. We can say this is the real retail competition model. Merit is supposed to be 100% deregulated model. Every consumer have a choice of buying power. The price is decided by the interaction of the demand and supply. Hence, it is truly competitive prices. There is no regulation in the energy pricing. Now, demerits belongs to need constitutional and structural changes at both wholesale and retail level. Extremely complex settlement system due to large number of participants. Requirement of additional infrastructure support. Now the comparison of the various market models we will see in this next table. We'll see how these will work. Means these are the attribute different of the degree of the regulation. Number of buyers can be many. The first model is the monopoly, then the second single buyer, then the wholesale competition, then retail competition. In the choice available, we can see in the last one is the retail competition. There is choice available to everybody, everybody, including in the small consumer. Means by seeing this table, we can go on the conclusion the retail competition is better. Regulated price to be paid, none open access exactly required. The requirement of the spot market essential. Otherwise, who will purchase? How will purchase? If I have to purchase electricity, how I will purchase? Number of seller means many number of seller, number of buyer, many buyer. There are number of many buyer, number of seller. So that is the real competitive model for our deregulation. This is for the retail competition. The electricity vis-a-vis other commodities, we can say the classification of the market model based on the contractual agreement discussed in the previous section can be applied to the most of the commodities that are traded in the market. If we assume a certain level of abstraction by presenting only the buyers and sellers. However, when it comes to electricity as a commodity, The same law of economics or commercial trades arrangements may not hold good. This is because electricity as a commodity bears different characteristics from the other commodity. So these are the, we'll see this in the, what are the distinguished features of electricity as a commodity? First of the real-time demand supply balance. It is not possible for us that we will store the electricity or we will generate electricity more and supply the electricity later. This is a real time supply balance, demand supply. We have to knowledge ki how much the consumer required the electricity. If we have knowledge at the right what time, if we means we have the demand, if we have a demand curve is available, we will make this demand curve by our supply curve. That's so it is needed. The demand, real demand supply curve balance must be needed. The next is this power flows obeys the law of physics. Means the electricity, if line is there, if you want, if some companies want key on the same line, they will provide the more electricity their loading limit beyond their loading limit. What happens? The line will crash, the blackout will be there. So it is not possible in the present case, at least, if we will putting the more and more load on the, so we have, because it will power flows of the obeys the law of physics. So it is also needed. Congestion management means congestion management must we have to be take care. Now the generator product compatibility interaction. To ensure reliable delivery of the electricity, only generation by generator at injection points and takeoff by loads at takeoff points is not sufficient. The system operator must take arrangement for the provision of the allied services necessary to this. These allied services are usually referred to as the ancillary services. Provision of the reactive power, operating reserve are some of the commodity required the ancillary services. So this is the another take care of the how much generation will be energy provided, how much reserve will be there, how much power will be required for the regulation, and how much will be the unused. Means we have to take some unused power also at any time it will be required. Now the unusual price variation or the combined effect of the various peculiarities of the electricity is that it has a large temporal variation in its price. It is not prudent to run all generators throughout the day. Rather, the most economical generator can be run throughout the day. Effectively, the price of the electricity will be low during the low demand period. However, during peak demand situation, the costly generators are brought online and the price of electricity goes high. That the marginal cost of produced energy will vary throughout the day. Now the effect of peculiarity, 4 pillars of the market. These are the 4 pillars. So the imbalance, scheduling and dispatch, congestion management, ancillary services. So this is the 4 pillars of the market. In this, and by these take care, only we can supply our electricity continuously. So what are the law follows? The real-time supply, power flows obeys law, and the generation producer the compatibility interaction. This is a simple market architecture. This is the timeline for the various energy markets, bilateral contracts, spot market. These are the, we have to trade of the real-time basis and day-ahead market. This is the abstraction of the market concept. Some mechanism to follow the seller have to buyer have to see this, they take care of. This is the forward contract. This is the seller-buyer interaction based on the timeline. These are the some economics involved in our system. Now, Ganesh sir?
Yeah, sir. You're right. So is it over, sir?
I think that I think this is more than sufficient.
Yes, sure, sir. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So participants, if you have any query, they may directly ask to sir. He is online here in the session only.
अच्छा थोड़ा जल्दी कर ले, मेरा होता
So
था मोबाइल ये क्या लैपटॉप चला जाए. हाँ.
okay, all right, sir. So
Light, because
I
light is related
don't
to
think
there.
so that I hear from participants. So if any participant, if they have any query, they can directly ask to sir, or otherwise this video, recorded video, will be uploaded on the YouTube and will be shared soon. So if any participant have left out some of the part of the session, they may see that also there also on YouTube. So I think I should summarize it now. So thank you, sir. Thank you, Lalwani sir, for sparing a valuable time with us. Definitely, your presentation will be very fruitful for the participants. And since I am in also from the background of electrical engineering, although I have not studied about the market, but the presentation you have presented really very nice, very beautiful. So thank you once again. Thank you very much, Lalwani sir. We will get back to you if anyone, if we have any other event also. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes. So participants, I have plotted the attendance link in the session. I think you may have recorded there. If any one of you have not registered yet, I'll once more share that same attendance link here in the chat box once again. So the attendance for the session 2 of the day.